Welcome to the Art Den, where we meet all kinds of artists who create all kinds of art. We gain an insight into their lives and find out what inspires them. I'm Nabila, and I'm delighted to welcome to the studio Stuart Brocklehurst, an award-winning printmaker from the Calder Valley in West Yorkshire. His work is naturalistic, representational, and rooted in British countryside, its landscape and wildlife. Stuart is a member of the International Mezzotint Society and has exhibited his work in exhibitions and galleries throughout the UK, USA, Russia, and Brazil. His prints are held in many permanent collections, including the Institute of Printmaking at the University of Campinas, Brazil, in the Museum of Fine Arts, Ekaterinburg, Russia, and in numerous private collections worldwide. Stuart describes printmaking as a marvelous alchemy of craftsmanship, skills, and art. Join us as we delve into Stuart's experience as a printmaker and discover the stories behind his artistic journey. Hi, Stuart. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Could you tell us about your background and how you become a printmaker?
Well, I have a background in art. When I left school, I went to art college and I studied illustration, specifically wildlife illustration, but the course was quite comprehensive. We did a lot of graphic design, typography, painting, of course. We also did some 3D work and some printmaking. I did lino cutting there. I did a little bit of wood engraving. My one and only etching to date was done at college for my final degree show. And apart from that, we also, because we were on a sort of specialist wildlife course, illustration course, we also did a lot of preparing museum specimens for museum display and things like that. So we did a little bit of taxidermy, and it was quite a wide-ranging course. But although I did some printmaking then, I was more geared towards painting and illustration generally. But then when I left college, I spent a lot of time painting and doing black and white illustrations, things like that. But then gradually I sort of moved back into printmaking.
So what themes and ideas do you explore in your work?
Well, I started out, I was really into sort of like drawing and painting wildlife at the start. But gradually I've moved more into landscape and rather than doing individual sort of like portraits of things, it's the wildlife in the landscape and the landscape itself that I do more work on now. I mean, I still do. I'll still do sort of like illustrations if I'm doing a book cover or something like that, something that needs something specifically going on. But when I'm working for myself, then it's mostly landscape that I do now.
That's
but I don't think of myself as either a wildlife artist or a landscape artist. I'll do anything that I think will make a decent print. So you know, my sketchbooks have got drawings of all sorts in, you know, like the one that's down there of the old farm plough and things
something
like
that catches your eye.
Yeah,
right?
it's just something, you know.
If
Everything I do is sketchbook based. I wouldn't describe myself as a particularly imaginative artist. I can't just sit down with a blank bit of paper and knock something up. So everything I do is based on observation and something that I've sat and drawn outside, whether it is a landscape or whether it's a bird or a fox or anything like that. Then you know it all comes from original observation.
You're a member of the International Mezzotint Society. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, and mezzotint is an old engraving technique that was developed in the mid 1600s, and originally it was used by artists. They would employ a mezzotint engraver to make a copy of their painting so that they could sell their print with the prints of the painting. You know, painters then as now had the same problem, that once they've done a painting and it leaves the studio, they've lost their income stream from it. So they would employ engravers to make copies of the painting so that they could sell the prints. Eventually it was sort of like superseded by lithography, etching and aquatint, and then photography, and now you just take get digital prints from things. So it sort of fell out of use round about the end of the 19th century. And even among printmakers, it's a considered a difficult technique. A lot of printmakers have done one to say that they've tried it, but they don't do it anymore.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, as it had been superseded by photography as a reproductive medium, then a lot of artists started to develop it for producing original work, especially in the States. But even now, it's still a relatively rare thing to see. For example, off the top of my head, I could probably think of 20, maybe 30 artists within West Yorkshire that make etchings, for example, but I would probably be hard pushed to come up with a list of 10, maybe 11 artists in the UK who make mezzotint, and one of them is from the Republic of Ireland, so it doesn't really count. So yeah, it is a relatively rare thing. You don't often come across two sort of like mezzotint engravers together. So the International Mezzotint Society it's an organisation that's founded in the States, but it has members worldwide, and they organise print exchanges. They provide a forum for sharing ideas and things, because it's not a technique that's taught in art college. Any mezzotint engraver working today has probably very much taught himself.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see.
Or they've attended a workshop run by somebody else, but generally
already have experience.
Or they've learned it off YouTube videos. So worldwide, it's a unusual. So you know, the members of the Mezzotint Society, some of them will organise exhibitions of work. So that's how I came to exhibit in Brazil, and I've exhibited in exhibitions across the States and in Europe, and then the Museum of Fine Art in Ekaterinburg, they organised a biennial international sort of like mezzotint festival where pretty much every mezzotint engraver would submit work to. So I mean the last one was held just before the COVID outbreak, and I think there was 150, 160 artists submitted.
You described making print as a puzzle. That's very interesting. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, printmaking is, you have to be quite precise. It's not like painting where you can slap a bit of paint around, and if you don't like it, wipe it off or paint over it. With printmaking, because you're working on a block and you're cutting away, you've got to be sure that the mark you're making is where you want it to be and what it's doing. And especially with a reduction lino cut, say, where I'm working all the colours from one block and printing them on top of each other.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You've got to work out first what order you're going to print your colours in, and then how you're going to cut the block so that you can, because what you do is you start with a block of lino and cut away all the areas that you want to remain white. And then print your first colour, usually the lightest. You work from light to dark, and then cut away the areas where you want that colour to remain, and then print again the next lightest colour. So you've got to start off with a plan in your head first of what order you're going to do things, and then hopefully when you've printed the last colour, because you've been cutting the block away, there's no going back. So once you print the last colour, and once that goes on and you lift the paper up, then you know whether or not it's worked. And that's the sort of like magic moment of printmaking, because until that point you might have something you might have an idea in your head of how it's going to work, how it's going to look, and what you want it to do. But until you've printed that last colour and peeled the paper away from the block, you've no idea whether or not it works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it works better than you think it does. So there's always that little bit of
a mystery.
You
wouldn't know how it would turn out.
I mean, for all the planning that you do beforehand, for all the working drawings that you've done, for all that work that's gone into it, until you pull the block away, you don't know whether it's worked. And even with something like a wood engraving, which is just a straightforward black and white, you're relying on a sequence of marks that you've made to give the tone, and you're hoping that your eye is going to read that part of it as the correct tone. So even with that, until you've peeled the paper off the block, you don't know whether or not you've got what you think you're going to get.
Could you share with us some challenges you have faced as an artist, and how art has helped you to overcome them?
When I left college, I was doing a lot of painting, but I was struggling to find my own style in it, and it became quite frustrating at times. I was making paintings, but they didn't look like my work. They were sort of like bad copies of somebody else's technique or things like that. Or that's how I felt anyway. And it took me quite a long time to realise that I didn't really like painting. I'd come out of art college thinking, all right, I'm going to be a painter. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to I'll exhibit paintings and sell them and things like that. And well, I didn't have a lot of success at exhibiting them. I sold a few, so I started doing lino cuts first, and had quite a bit of success early on, which was quite encouraging. I had a print exit accepted at an exhibition in Leeds Art Gallery. I had another one accepted for an exhibition at the Royal Cambrian Academy in Wales, in Conway, which was quite positive. And from that point, then I pretty much ditched painting altogether and started printmaking. Originally doing a lot of lino cuts, and at first that was all I was doing, just lino cuts. But there were drawings that I was making in my sketchbooks that I knew I couldn't do in lino cuts. So I was looking around for another medium, and that's when I came on Mezzotint. I was exhibiting at a print fair in Cumbria, and one of the artists there had a whole sort of like wall of mezzotints.
Wow.
And I'd sort of like toyed with the idea of doing etching. I knew how to do an etching because I'd done etchings at college, but it wasn't really something that I could do at home with a sort of like young children in the house. You know, I couldn't have chemical baths in there for doing the plates or anything. Mezzotint was a dry. It's an engraving process, so there's no chemicals involved. There's nothing like that. So I knew what these prints were, but I didn't have a clue how to make them. But as it happened, the artist who was exhibiting them was staying in the same B&B as me.
Oh, nice.
So over 2 mornings, having us breakfast, he pretty much told me how to make one. So that was how I started doing Mezzotint. And that sort of like brought another side to my work, if you like.
Yeah.
And I've since I started doing those, I've had quite a lot of success with them. And you know, like I said, now I do workshops where I teach it, which I've benefited from artists who've been generous with their knowledge and
That's true,
freely
yeah.
giving it.
That's true.
And I get a lot out of doing the same for other people. So I quite enjoy that side of the work as well, the teaching side. And it's good because you learn something as well while you're teaching it.
Oh,
You know,
yes. Definitely.
you know, it's a give and take process, and I enjoy that. So I get a lot out of that as well.
Fantastic. As an artist, what are your views on the benefits of art and creativity for mental health and well-being?
I find it very positive. As I said, the work I do is slow. It's methodical. You're making small marks in small areas and gradually building something up. And like I said, a lot of printmakers have tried mezzotint and find it just difficult. Whereas because it's a sort of repetitive process, you're making the same little marks, and I find it quite meditative. And you know, you get lost in the work that you're doing.
When and where do you create your prints, and how easy it is for you to stop once you've started?
Well, I'm lucky really in that I've got a space at home. I mean, it's only a small space, but it's big enough. I've got my etching press in there. I've got a little bookbinding press that I use for printing the wood engravings on, and I've got space for a workbench. So being at home, I can just go in whenever, you know. So it's convenient that way. I don't have to make an effort to go out to a studio that's sort of like a mile or so away. You know, I can just come downstairs.
Thinking about your finished work, can you describe one that makes you feel particularly proud or happy? And can you say why it makes you feel that way?
Probably the mezzotint where 7 streams fall of it's the waterfall at Lum Falls, which is just up the valley from Hebden Bridge, and it's turned out pretty much what I got on paper is what I thought I was going to get in my head. And it's quite a big mezzotint, so it took quite a while to, you know, there's maybe 2-3 months work on it.
Oh wow.
Just to engrave the plate. So that I think at the moment, but usually I say, oh well, the last print I made, everything's but no, that one is special. And it won me an award as well, which is always nice to get.
Wow.
So
cool.
awards are always nice.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's nice to have the sort of recognition that comes with that.
Where can people see your work?
I exhibit. I do a lot throughout the year. I do a lot of art fairs. I've done art in the pen at Skipton in August. Regularly for, I think I've probably done it for about the last 10 years. I've applied for this year's, so I think you get to find out in March whether or not I've got in there. So I've done that. I've done Saltaire Makers Fair a few times. I have work in galleries, and I've got an online presence, although I wouldn't say that I'm the most prolific person online, but you know, I've worked online. I've worked on website, and there are links on that to my online shop where people
on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook as well, and Instagram. Like I said, don't follow me expecting regular updates.
Bless you.
I'm not the best at posting on that.
Oh. In terms of your personal identity and your sense of who you are, how important to you is being an artist?
That's what I regard myself as. Although it's something that you sort of like are without really thinking about it. You know, especially for me, because a lot of what I do is observational. It sort of colours how you see things, or I feel it colours how you see things. I look at things and it's subconsciously I'm thinking, you know, how would I draw that? What line would I use? You know, what colours or what shade? So yeah, it's something that you sort of like are without really thinking about it, if you understand what I'm getting at. You know, it's just something that I've always done. So it's and
comes pretty natural to you.
Yeah, it's not something that I have to force. And you know, usually wherever I go, you know, if I'm out, I've got a sketchbook with me, and I'll draw anything. I mean, I take a camera as well, but usually I forget to get it out of the bag, or I've forgot to charge it up, so there's the battery's dead on it if I need. So the observational drawing is important.
Finally, to sum up, what motivates and inspires you to create art?
Just being outside. I mean, like I said, I've got sketchbooks going back 45 years. So I've got enough material in those to make prints from, but I still go out and I'll still draw whenever I'm out walking. So there's always that, you know, you're always drawing something new and then trying to use that on a print. And yeah, the sort of like motivation is to make the next print or the next image better than the last one, and to
it
just
excites
keep,
you.
Just to keep pushing yourself and to develop your own skill and technique. You know, there's always something new to learn. And like I said, when you teach workshops, you know, there's always, you know, something to learn from the students on those, and you think, oh yeah, they've tried that, I'll try that, and next one I make, or you know, things like that. There's always a progression. And,
even students can inspire you
to
do something new.
Definitely. You know, because especially, you know, if they've never done it before, they don't have the sort of like inhibitions or anything, so they might be a bit more free in what they try, and you know, you see somebody doing something, maybe I should have thought about doing that, and I'll have a go at that next time.
Oh yes, absolutely. Thank you, Stuart, for joining us today on The Art Den. It's been great speaking with you, and we wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you very much.
And to the audience, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to Kirklees Local TV on YouTube to get our latest videos first. And we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.